Sophie Cunningham just ended Angel Reese's reputation with a single podcast episode, and this was not some subtle hint or cryptic tweet that required hours of fan decoding. The direct verbal assault targeted a player who spends more time in the headlines for her dating life than her defensive rotations, and everyone in the league is currently watching the fallout. During the May 5th episode of her show, Cunningham finally spoke the words that every veteran in the league has been whispering behind closed doors for months. She looked into the camera and told Angel Reese to grow up and move on, which signaled a total meltdown for a player who was supposed to be the future of the sport. Professional standards in the WNBA have been completely shattered by this high school-level drama, and now the brand is being dragged through the mud in real time.
Yo, if you love real basketball stories, deep dives, and the drama behind the game, you're in the right place. But if you want to take it to the next level, hit that join button. Members get exclusive content, early access, and behind-the-scenes drops you won't see anywhere else. Plus, you're directly supporting the channel and helping us bring you even better content. So if you rock with Basketball Spilled, become a member today. Let's keep the game alive.
The 5th of May, 2026, was the day the Indiana Fever veteran decided she had seen enough of the social media circus surrounding the former Chicago Sky star. Sophie's words on the Show Me Something podcast were like a lightning strike across the league because she dared to address the messy love triangle involving Wendell Carter Jr. and Jalen Duren. Wes Wilson tried to offer an out by suggesting nothing had actually happened between the parties, but Sophie shut that down with an intensity that left the co-host speechless. Something had to have happened for Reese to keep wanting to embarrass Jalen Duren in such a public way, and that blunt assessment is exactly what has the WNBA front offices panicking. What nobody expected was the speed at which this personal beef would cross over into the NBA postseason and affect actual game results. During the Magic vs. Pistons first-round series, Reese reshared a video to her Instagram story that showed her current boyfriend, Wendell Carter Jr., dunking on Jalen Duren. This was a calculated move to humiliate a man she was linked to during that widely circulated 2024 vacation footage, and the timing suggests she wanted to hurt his focus. Detroit fans even started chanting Reese's name at the free throw line during Game 7 to get under Duren's skin, and the psychological warfare appeared to work perfectly. Jalen Duren is currently feeling the weight of this drama on the court, and the scoring split between the regular season and the playoffs tells a story of a man who is completely rattled. 19.5 points was his regular season average, but that number cratered to a miserable 10.6 across 8 postseason games after the social media attacks began. While the Pistons ended up winning that series, Duren's reputation as a focused professional took a massive hit, and that changed when the veterans in the WNBA realized the damage Reese was causing. Sophie Cunningham asserted that Reese should stop worrying about her ex-partners and focus on her current boyfriend. But here is the thing that really bothers the veterans. Everything changed just over a month ago when the Chicago Sky decided they had seen enough and traded Reese to the Atlanta Dream for 2027 and 2028 first-round picks. You don't trade a talent of that caliber unless the locker room culture has become toxic and the Sky front office prioritized their future over the influencer fame Reese brings. Atlanta Dream fans are currently celebrating a road win at Minnesota, where Reese put up 11 points and 14 rebounds, but the veteran players in the league are looking at the off-court behavior with total disgust. Sophie Cunningham is recovering from a severe knee injury that sidelined her last season, and her return to the Indiana Fever has been defined by a no-nonsense approach to the game. Seeing a younger player use NBA highlights as weapons in a petty relationship war is an insult to the professional standards Sophie has spent her career defending, and the result was a public calling out that no one saw coming. Sophie's words carry the weight of a player who understands that the locker room is sacred, and she refused to let the league narrative protect a player who acts as a distraction. Angel Reese has not publicly responded to the chants or the podcast comments, and this silence appeared to confirm that she has no defense for her behavior. Distractify informed the public that the two players might have spoken behind the scenes, but that did nothing to stop the momentum of the controversy. June 4th, 2026, is the date every WNBA fan has circled on their calendar because that is when the Dream traveled to Indianapolis to face the Fever. This matchup was already going to be intense, but now it has been transformed into a sanctioned grudge match between the veteran professional and the social media influencer. Sophie Cunningham has already laid the groundwork for a hostile environment, and she won't stop until she has exposed the reality of Reese's impact on a team's chemistry. The problem was never about the talent on the court, because Reese is a double-double machine, but the distraction she brings to the facility is a price many veterans aren't willing to pay. But what the cameras missed during the regular season was the simmering resentment from veterans who are tired of the WNBA being treated like a reality show. Sophie Cunningham informed her listeners that the behavior was embarrassing, and she stated that Reese needs to move on and worry about the person she's actually with. These quotes were reported by everyone from Yahoo Sports to Newsweek, and the coverage proved that the locker room leak was widespread. Wendell Carter Jr. even confirmed the relationship on FanDuel TV's Run It Back, which meant Reese had no reason to continue targeting Jalen Duren unless she wanted to cause trouble. The situation in Atlanta is equally precarious because the Dream front office is now managing a superstar who brings a national audience and a massive headache. If the locker room ripple effects start to impact the standings, that 2027 first-round pick they traded away is going to look like a historic mistake. Locker room chemistry remains a fragile thing, and when one player is constantly the center of a love triangle that affects NBA playoff series, the rest of the team starts to feel the pressure. Sophie Cunningham knows exactly how to exploit that pressure, and she's planning to do exactly that when the ball tips off on June 4th. Indiana Fever fans are expected to be ruthless when Reese enters their arena, and they will likely take their cues from Sophie's podcast to make sure the environment is as uncomfortable as possible. This is the consequence of making your private life a public weapon, and Reese is learning that the hard way as her peers begin to turn on her. Cunningham's return from injury was supposed to be the main story for the Fever, but she has used her recovery time to become the voice of the league's disgruntled veterans. She is protecting the brand of the WNBA from being turned into a tabloid circus, and her attack on Reese was the first step in reclaiming the locker room culture. And this is where it gets worse for the Atlanta Dream, because their star player is now a polarizing figure before she has even finished her first month with the team. Audience reactions are split between those who think Sophie is being too harsh and those who believe Reese has finally met her match. Comment sections are the engine driving this drama, but the facts remain focused on the stats and the trade value that is currently in flux. Jalen Duren's collapse in the playoffs is the smoking gun that proves these social media posts have real-world consequences, and Sophie Cunningham refused to let that fact be ignored. What nobody expected was for the Chicago Sky to look like the winners of a trade so early in the season, but their decision to move Reese appears more justified with every passing day. They avoided the June 4th fallout and the constant questions about love triangles by moving on when they did. Atlanta is now left to navigate the storm that Sophie Cunningham created, and there is no sign that the veteran guard plans to back down anytime soon. Cunningham is the hard worker who grinding through rehab while Reese was reshared dunk videos to settle scores, and that contrast is exactly why the hero and villain labels have been applied so firmly. The professional wall between the two leagues was built to protect the athletes, but Reese decided to tear it down for a few viral clips and a repost. Sophie Cunningham's career has been built on grit and focus, and she sees the social media games as a threat to everything the league has worked to build. When the Fever play the Dream, it won't just be about the score, because it will be about the identity of the WNBA. Sophie has stated her position clearly, and she is ready to defend the league's honor on the court. Angel Reese is the architect of her own downfall because she couldn't resist the urge to troll an ex during the most important games of his career. She thought she was being clever, but she ended up losing the respect of the veterans who actually keep the league running. Sophie Cunningham was the only one brave enough to say it out loud, and now the entire world is waiting for the confrontation in Indianapolis. The double-doubles won't save Reese from the reputation ruin she has invited, and June 4th will be the final buzzer for the social media circus she tried to run. Locker room leaks and witness statements suggest that the resentment toward Reese is not just limited to Sophie Cunningham, and many players are tired of the influencer narrative taking precedence over the game. The facts of a trade and the statistical collapse of Jalen Duren are the evidence that proves this behavior is toxic. Sophie Cunningham stood up for the professionals, and she exposed the manipulative tactics that have been allowed to slide for too long. Everything Reese has built is currently under fire because she didn't know how to move on and act like a pro. As the season progresses, the Dream will have to decide if the production on the court is worth the chaos in the locker room. Sophie Cunningham has already made her choice, and she has positioned herself as the leader of the truth seekers who want the game to remain pure. The investigation into Reese's behavior is just beginning, and the June 4th game is the first real test of how she handles actual pressure. Sophie is waiting, the Fever fans are waiting, and the entire basketball world is watching to see if the social media star can survive the professional fire. Angel Reese wanted to be the center of attention, and now she has exactly what she asked for, but it isn't the kind of attention that helps you in championships. Sophie Cunningham informed the world that enough was enough, and her words on the podcast will haunt Reese for the rest of the season. The league is currently in a state of meltdown, and the blame lies squarely on the shoulders of the player who chose trolling over teamwork. Sophie is the hero who spoke up, and Reese is the villain who let her ego destroy her locker room standing. The final buzzer is about to sound on the influencer era of the WNBA because the veterans are reclaiming their house. Sophie Cunningham has drawn the line in the sand, and the June 4th matchup will be the site of the final battle. Angel Reese is currently the most polarizing player in the sport, and her actions during the NBA playoffs have cost her the respect of the peers she needs to succeed. Sophie showed the world that the double-doubles are meaningless if you aren't a professional, and that realization is going to be the end of the Angel Reese era as we know it. Everything Reese did was designed to build her brand, but she forgot that her brand is built on the respect of the players she shares the court with every night. Sophie Cunningham took that respect away with one episode of Show Me Something, and she did it by stating the simple truth that everyone else was too scared to say. Angel Reese is the architect of her own downfall, and when the ball tips off in Indianapolis, she will realize that no amount of Instagram followers can protect her from the reality of the game. Sophie is ready, the Fever are ready, and the league is finally ready to move on from the drama.